Makes the catch. Richardson to Josh Downs. Yeah, things were a little different last year for the Colts. This year they've got Danny Dimes throwing dimes back to Michael Pittman. Uh, welcome back to the Sports Spotlight. I'm your host, Usman. With me on the airwaves, I've got Shep, and Shep, it's time, man. I've moved the spotlight over to the pros. I've got my Josh Allen jersey. We're ready. We're ready to roll. Real quick, that abomination across the pond uh, between between the
Yep.
Broncos and the Jets is thankfully over. Uh,
Yes.
we
And
were-
London has now been spared.
well, I don't know if they were spared. They had to watch this debacle take place in slow motion. Um, Net passing yards. Denver Broncos 168. Total offense of 246. Total offense for the Jets 82 yards. But hey, they had 92 rushing yards. What does that mean? Negative 10 passing yards for the New York Giants, who are not in New York. Yeah, if you can't figure your geography out, you probably can't figure out your football.
I mean, that's brutal.
They're bad.
I don't think we need to spend a lot of time.
13-11. Is that a scoregami? Like, has this been done before? 13-11. The Broncos win. What an ugly, ugly game. What an ugly product for us to give to the
Our
denizens
British
of
friends.
London.
Yep.
They're
Which is a lovely city.
they're going back to rugby now. We
Yep.
don't need this.
I think they've got a couple more games in London, though. Don't the NFL?
I think so. I think 2 more weeks. Yeah.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett's starting for the Cardinals today.
Yep. Yeah. They announced that earlier in the morning. I probably need to, 20 minutes left. I probably should have done that during this break. Just last second checks of starting and all that. Jamar Chase. So let's talk about the Bengals. I don't know what happened with Browning. Browning looked good, spelling a Burrow 2 years ago, and then even last year in a game or two, right? And this year he's just looked abysmal. So they pulled the trigger, but it's not Browning, it's the offensive line, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, look, Browning's not great. He's not good enough to win the game on his own. Cincinnati, God bless you guys in Cincinnati. You have no luck with your ownership. But they've got Joe Burrow, but they've got 2 wide receiver contracts. It means they can't spend on the offensive line, and they haven't developed the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And selfishly, I bring this back to the Minnesota Vikings thing. In a year or so, the Vikings are going to have to decide what to do with Jordan Addison because you can't pay 2 wide receivers number 1 money.
Yeah.
And Addison's a number 1 wide receiver. He just is not number 1 of the Vikings because they got that Justin Jefferson guy.
Yeah, I think what they need to do is draft another number 1 and ride him out
which is
for
so
4
easy to
more
do.
years. Easy.
Yeah, but
Just ask
they
the
got
Browns.
but the Bengals had the same choice, but they paid them both.
Yeah.
And now they can't protect the quarterback, and that's a problem.
That's what you want to avoid, right? That's why
Yeah.
you can't pay
And
2
you got to
number
start
1
asking if
wideouts.
Joe Burrow's got the constitution to play in the NFL, which sucks because he's so much fun to watch.
I mean, look, I don't know, the 3.5 games a season that he'll play. Yes, he looks great. I think, and it's unfortunate. Some folks, look, football is a violent game, right? But once in a while, you do get players who just run through a whole career unscathed. And then you get the polar opposite, players who are just always, even when they're healthy, you're just waiting. You're waiting. And I think, unfortunately, Burrow at this point has proven to be in
He's just
in that camp.
incapable, and his style of play lends itself to getting hit because he holds the ball until the last second a lot of times.
Yeah,
Which
but
is great if you got wear and tear turned off on Madden, but it's not if it's the real world and you're going to take that punishment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate. So I've got Jamar Chase as my wide receiver on one of my fantasy football leagues, and I almost benched him last week after the debacle from 2 weeks ago. But then I left him in there, and he paid off with 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in garbage time. And now I've got. Apparently, he came down with an illness 2 days ago on Friday. And then yesterday they were saying it was fine. He's expected to play this morning. They're saying, well, we'll see. The coach is saying we'll see how he feels before the game. And of course, it's the afternoon game. Luckily, on that team, I've got Romeo Dobbs sitting on the bench, so I'll have to keep an eye on it and see if I need to swap out Chase with Dobbs in that game. But yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of the games from last week because I think we agree adding Flacco, replacing Browning with Flacco behind that porous offensive line is only going to get a 40-year-old broken instead of a 26-year-old broken. And not wishing injury on anyone, but I have a feeling it's going to be back to Browning before Burrow is able to come back. I think behind that offensive line, I give poor Flacco a couple of weeks before he's unable to play. It's bad. It's bad. They can't run block Chase Brown, in whom a lot of fantasy players invested a lot of stock. Right?
Yeah.
He was a first round, early second round pick in most drafts. He's done nothing. He can't do anything behind that awful offensive line, and a lot of times the offensive line is weak on one side, but is at least manageable on the other side, right? But this line has proven to be just abysmal at both things that it's supposed to do. Can't run
We've
block.
spent a lot of time today talking about offensive lines in both the pro and the college side, and it is just so important to how it's just so obvious. Right?
Why don't the GMs listen to us?
Well, so last year, remember before the Super Bowl, we were talking about it, and I was like, man, I just don't see how the Chiefs win this game because Philly's so much better on both sides of the line.
Yep.
And I was nervous about that because Vegas is usually smarter than me, right? There's a reason why the house always wins, as it were.
Yep.
I was like, I still see it. And it's because Philly's lines are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Philly, we can talk about Philly. They got some issues this year. But the line play, I mean, look, one of the most intriguing coaches to me is old Jim Harbaugh of the Chargers, right? Yeah. They're not doing well the last couple of weeks because they have 4 injuries in the offensive line, 3 starters in their swing offensive line.
Still the same quarterback whom everyone was anointing the MVP for this year after 2
Yeah, but if you can't protect the quarterback, unless that guy's game is to play street ball, which is not Herbert. Herbert's a drop back pocket quarterback. Yeah. Okay, he's athletic, but his game is to play within the pocket. If your offensive line doesn't work, your offense doesn't work. And then the Vikings are the same way. You've got several teams. The Eagles, obviously.
I mean, the Texans, they've been suffering in spite of that 44-10 win. They've been suffering because of the bad offensive line play and the loss of talent.
Yep.
The Raiders, look, Geno Smith resurrected his career with Seattle with a good offensive line. And the Raiders pay him all that money, don't have anyone protecting him. Same thing. They've got the same issues that Cincinnati does, right? They draft Ashton Genty, and then they can't block for him. I think he's gotten better in the last couple of weeks, but after 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks, I think, his average yards before contact were in the negative.
Yeah, it's miserable. When you're getting hit behind the line of scrimmage every play.
Yeah, I don't care how talented you are. You can't do it.
You're not going to go well for you.
Yep.
And that's, we always talk about the SEC being a line of scrimmage league. Well, the NFL is overall a total line of scrimmage league, right?
Because everyone has talent. Everybody has talent at skill positions.
But if you're wiped out, if you don't have talent to begin with, or you have an injury crisis along the line, your season, or at least a chunk of your season, until you get people healthy, come back, or brutal.
All right.
And that,
Sorry. Go ahead and finish.
no, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say yes. We can beat the horse of winning in the trenches is so important. Until we're blue in the face, the GMs are never going to listen to us, except for a few, like Philadelphia. Philadelphia is all about winning in the trenches, at the offensive and defensive line.
And the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions, yes, and they've made look. Overall, the Rams are still winning that trade because they got the Lombardi right off the bat by bringing in Stafford.
I'm beginning to feel a little sad on the inside because I think the Lions may get a Super Bowl trophy before the Vikings.
I mean, they certainly playing like it. They absolutely are. They're wonderful on offense and devastating on defense on that defensive line. And yeah, I mean they can run the ball. Hey, I got to tell you. So did I tell you I joined for the first time? I joined a guillotine league. Do you know what that is?
Guillotine league.
Okay, so fantasy football, you start with 14 or 15 teams because you go through season 15. You draft, you make up a team. The lowest scoring team every week gets guillotined. Their players become available. You've got a fab. You've got a budget of $1,000 that you can spend to pick up players. But essentially, every week there's somewhere between 1 to 3 top players becoming available. And I was my running game was pretty atrocious in that league. And I got Jahmyr Gibbs, the guy who had Jahmyr Gibbs got eliminated last week.
Oh.
So I put in. I mean, I'm lucky. I also lucky. I'm smart. I also have Javonte Williams, and Javonte Williams was
you
my
were
guy.
Totally right on Javonte Williams. By the way, this year.
4 out of my 5 leagues, I've got Javonte, and man, oh man, I'm reaping the benefits. And in addition, I picked up old Scataboo after week 2 in 2 leagues.
Yeah,
and
man.
my guillotine league is one of those. So I'm fine. But in addition to Scataboo and Javonte, I put in I think 40% of the fab. I hadn't bid. I'd been making small bids where people were outbidding me on various players who had opened up. But Jahmyr Gibbs, since you mentioned the Lions, that reminded me. I'm a believer in Jahmyr Gibbs and what the Lions are doing. So I put in 400. I think I put in like 395 and won it. So now I've got my one weakness in that league. I've got Jahmyr, I've got Scataboo, and I've got Javonte Williams, and I'm set.
You
of course,
keep avoiding the guillotine, huh?
Yeah. Since I say that, I'm probably going to get guillotined this year, this week. But yeah, it's I'm right now on the strength of that game, Thursday night game of Scataboo. By the way, if you've been living on Mars, the Giants won on Thursday night with Scataboo scoring.
And they ran away from the Eagles.
They did.
So the Eagles have got some things they got to figure out, X's and O's wise and chemistry wise.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be shocked if they figure out a way to trade AJ Brown.
I mean, they've gotten the use out of him, right? They traded, they paid him the big money, they got the Lombardi, and at this point, if they need to ship him away and fleece somebody, I mean that's what good teams do, right? That's what good teams do, and somebody will overpay for him. I mean, is he a great player? Yes. But does he tend to disappear at times? Yeah, he does. So he's probably going to get traded. Somebody's going to overpay. He's going to make a splash, and then it's going to be the same old, right? He's got a high ceiling, but he also has a low floor. So he'll give you those 20, 25, 30-point games followed by a 4-point game, and that doesn't cut it. That type of Barry Sanders played does not work in fantasy football. Well, I mean, it didn't work in the pros for Barry either, right?
Boy, I mean, very.
-1, -2, 80 yards.
Yeah, look, he was a lot of fun to watch, but I would have hated to have him as a bell cow for my team because you can't consistently move the ball with him. He doesn't follow blocking lanes.
Yep.
One of the most entertaining people that ever played the game, though. We're very lucky to have been able to watch it.
Yep. All right, so I'm sold on the Lions, but hey, let's pile on. We were talking about the Bengals. Let's talk about the Browns. So 4 years ago, the Browns had themselves a franchise quarterback. Something not only should they have been aware, they should have been painfully aware that the whole football world is talking about the fact how they cannot seem to get the franchise quarterback right, right? Everybody knows the long list of going back to Tim Couch and even before Achilles Smith and all those guys. Actually, Achilles Smith was Cincinnati. But all those long line of quarterbacks that they missed on. And then they got Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield turns them around. He gets them to the playoffs. He gets them a playoff victory. And then they toss him aside for
I know.
Watson. Deshaun Watson.
I know.
And you see what he's doing. Look, I was never a huge believer in Baker Mayfield, but even at the time, I'm actually not even a fan of Baker Mayfield. I actually dislike the dude. You know, the attitude, the chip on the shoulder, all that good stuff. But even when that happened, I said, "What are you doing? Like, this is the guy who's turned around your woes of the last 30 years."
They thought that they were going to get Deshaun Watson with his head on straight who could play football. And they gave him the worst contract since Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla still collecting $1 million.
Still getting paid, by the way. I think he's got 7 more years.
No, I think it's 29 or 30 is the last year. So whatever, 4 or 5 years, 7 years. But yeah, still getting paid every year. He's got $1 million coming in from the Mets. But yeah, they
until
gave
2035.
35. Okay, well,
so he's got 10 years left.
He hasn't played in 20 years. Has not played in 20 years. Oh my goodness. Bad franchises make bad decisions. And yes,
consistently.
So Cleveland tossed him aside, and he's doing things I did not think he could do. But
I will give you credit again, though. Last year, you called it before he got super hot.
Yeah.
He was on a roll, but you're like, he's going to continue this, and he did.
Well, because it's the offensive line. It's the offensive line, stupid. Like, I don't understand why people don't get it. People are talking about what a stud Bucky Irving is. I'm like, yeah, he gets injured. You throw in Rashard White. Rashard White goes off for 20, 25 points. It's the offensive line.
Yeah, I've got him on my bench today.
You left him on the bench?
Yeah.
Bro, did I tell you, I picked up Dowdle and Rashard White and started them both on the same team last week.
Wow.
Oh, that was so this week I had to. I think I left Rashard White on the bench also because I had to. It was like I think I've got Achan. So I had to pick. I had to put Dowdle in. You know, the revenge game against the Cowboys. Coming off of what he did, Hubbard is still on the bench. So I had to pick. I could either start Dowdle or White, and I left White on the bench. All right, we've talked way more fantasy than I intended to, but so let's talk about in the last 5-6 minutes. Let's talk about after this atrocious game starting off this Sunday. Let's talk about what we're going to see today. So let's not talk about the Browns and the Steelers. Cowboys Panthers. Can the Cowboys win this, or is Dowdle going to get his revenge?
Well, wait, what a question. Can the Cowboys win this? No, yeah, I think they can because they're playing the Panthers. But I think they're going to have to score 30 points to win the game.
I think this is going to be
because their defense is awful.
Yeah, this is going to be an
They
entertaining
let the
game.
Jets score 22 against them.
The Jets. Yeah, minus 10 passing yards.
Yeah. So in the early window, that's a game I'll be keeping my eye on, as well as the Rams-Ravens to see how low the Ravens can go because of their injuries.
Yeah, 1-4. The season, their season's pretty close to being done, but they lose today at home to the Rams.
It's not done yet because they're in the North, and the North is a mess. We'll see. The Steelers, I think, are going to end up winning that division.
Yeah, if they can go, I think they've got the bye coming up after this week, right? Or is it after next week? I think they've got 2 more games before Lamar gets back.
Yeah.
So if they can split those, if they're sitting at 2-5, and Lamar gets back, and Lamar's presence gets Derrick Henry going again, can they get hot and reel off some victories? Absolutely. I think Lamar's that X factor that makes that offense go. And if he can come back healthy and get going and get the running game going, yeah, they can get hot. So, okay, yeah, you've talked me out of it. If they can go 1-1, they've got a good shot with Lamar coming back. If they lose and they're sitting at 1-6 before Lamar's back, that's going to be tough, man. That's going to be tough.
Hey, if you had to pick one game this week to watch, though, and it can't be the Bills because they're your team, wouldn't it be the Lions Chiefs tonight?
Oh yeah,
there's a reason it's a flex game.
Absolutely, 100%. What the Lions have been doing, and then what the Chiefs have started doing, in spite of that loss, and that Monday night game with the Jaguars, that was insane. Lawrence gets stepped on 4th and goal, right? 4th and goal. He gets stepped on.
Well, I don't think it was 4th and goal.
I thought it was 4th down.
I think it was 1st or 2nd down.
Huh. Okay. Maybe I'm, this is what happens, right? We romanticize the past.
Last week. Continue.
Yeah. So whatever it was, he gets stepped on. I could have sworn I'm going to have to dig into that. But we can talk about that later. But I thought it was like if he had gotten tackled, that would have been it. That would have been game. But he gets stepped on. He falls. Gets up, looks around with that panic in his eyes was real. Like I've seen that play a couple of times because he knows it's about to. And that's why I'm convinced it was 4th down.
It was 1st and goal.
1st and goal.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
But 23 seconds left.
Oh, it was the time because they were out of timeouts. If he'd gotten tackled, yeah, that would have been tough to try to run another play. But yeah, so regardless, he falls, but the offensive line does their job. He's able to get back up, look for the running back, can't hand it off, looks to the left, and then starts running to that side.
Breaks a tackle.
Breaks a couple of tackles, and Chris Jones actually stops.
He said he thought the play was done.
Yeah, he was on the left side, and I mean, and that's why that's what stood out to me, and that's why we've talked about it here on the Spotlight. I've always taught my teams, you play until the play is over. You never assume a play is over. And man, oh man, a future Hall of Famer and an all-time great, the stud cog that makes that defense go in that critical moment says, oh yeah, he's fallen, the play's over. Because there were 4 Kansas City Chiefs right around him. He breaks one tackle, he dodges the other guy, hits the third guy and falls into the end zone for the touchdown. And all of a sudden, instead of the Chiefs sitting at 3-2 and everybody saying the Chiefs are back and all the talk of woes early in the season is over, here we are. The Chiefs are at 2-3. But
yeah, and they could be very well 2-4 tonight.
I mean, it's the Lions, and yeah, they could. But I think you're right. It is going to be an entertaining game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Probably not a shootout, but I think I can see this being a 30-27, a 31-20, maybe as much as a 31-24 game.
Yeah.
Can the Chiefs win? Absolutely. It's at Arrowhead. Mahomes appears to be back. They still can't run the ball, but the defense is playing better-ish. And, when you've got Mahomes, when you've got a quarterback like Mahomes, you always, always have a chance. All right.
Yep.
With that, unfortunately, we've, all good things must come to an end, and to the end we have gotten. And we'll see how the games turn out. Games are kicking off the early slate. Enjoy your football. Enjoy your fantasy football. Shep, always a
Enjoy
pleasure.
fall.
And enjoy fall. All right. We'll be back not next, let's see, when am I? Yeah, we'll be back next Sunday. I'm not going to be doing my Wednesday night show because I'm traveling for work. But yeah, we'll be back next Sunday at 10 a.m. Always a pleasure, Shep. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. You've been listening to the Sports Spotlight. I'm Rizwan, signing off for the day. Enjoy football, everyone.
You are listening to Radio Azad, where your voice matters. Entertain, inform,